generational adolescents and young adults conflicted with dysfunctional family circumstances and the acceptance of improper societal influences that often leads to the destruction of the nuclear family element and the furthering of society's preeminent deterioration. I start out with that mission statement because the black community is affected and being ravaged completely today.
My Lord.
I happened to come across some statistics from the Census Bureau, and it said in 1966, 84% of black or African American children were raised in two-family households. 51 years later, in 2006, or 50 years later, that statistic, that number dropped to fewer than 33% in 2006. During the same time period in 2006, I believe it was, 80% Asian American children were still being raised in two-parent households. 75% of Caucasian American children were still being raised in two-parent households. And 70% of Latino American children were still being raised in two-parent households. And when we look at that, the 50% difference between what was going on in 1996 and what's going on at 2006 on that time frame, you got to ask yourself, what happened to the black culture? What happened to the black family? Where are we going? You know, what are we doing wrong? I think about some things that took place during the slavery times when, you know, the Caucasian man separated. And I don't want to make this about a race thing. It's not about a race thing. We're here to help any and every child we can possibly help. But, you know, the truth is the truth. During slavery time, you know, it was a practice to separate the black family, to separate the male from the woman and the children from the parents and things of that nature. This stuff continued to go on till you know, basically we were unaware, but this stuff's continued to go on. When we think about the welfare system, when it was first brought into America, if a woman wanted assistance from the government, she couldn't have a man living with her. And when I think about these things and I look back and I say, dang, you know, our family system's been broken down for many years, from over 50, 60 years now. And we look at where we are today based on where everybody else today, and we're on a decline. The black race is on the verge of extinction in this country, and we don't even know it. I mean, the leading cause of death for black women today in this country is HIV and AIDS. I mean, 1 in 4 black people or African American people have genital herpes and don't even know it. 90% of them don't even know it. We 8 times more likely to have gonorrhea than a white person. 5 times more likely to have syphilis than a white person today. I mean, what's going on? I ain't even get into the drug abuse or how many African American men are in prison today or committing crimes and how our children are killing each other in the streets. And I say all this to get to a point, I want to segue to this point that, you know, we have to do something about this. There's definitely something that we have to do. And together, my friend Mo didn't mention it, but we all knew each other growing up in the system as well. That's why we know each other today. Like, we all was babies. We all was children in Sparford in 1990. My phone is going off. It's killing me. We all know each other, and we're here to give back. You know, we believe it's our time to give back.
I'm sorry.
It just kills me to think about everything that's going on in our lives right now. So we're in the process of starting an organization called Elite. And, you know, we want to bring it to everybody's attention. This is actually our first time talking in front of a group together. So, yeah, there's a little bit of nervousness. I'm a little nervous. I'm sure everybody else is going to be nervous. You know, but this is our first time. You know, this is our stepping stone right here. You know, it's probably history being made right now because we plan on doing some big things with the knowledge and experience that we have. We believe that through our experiences, we can help other children. I mean, there's a big gap between parents and adults and children today. And I felt that when I was a child. I mean, I grew up in a single-parent household where my father abused my mother, and that's why he wasn't with her. He was physically violent against her. My mother started smoking crack cocaine. My father started smoking crack cocaine. I'm the oldest of 3 siblings, and at the age of 9 years old, I had to go out into the streets. Nobody could tell me anything. My teachers couldn't tell me nothing. There was no food in my house. I didn't have clothes on my back, and my brother and sister needed to eat, and I needed to eat too. So I went out and I tried to do things legitimately initially. I packed bags, I pumped gas, I sold newspapers on Sundays, but it still wasn't, the amount of money that I was making could not replace what my parents had done at one time in their lives. So eventually I had to move out into the streets even deeper. I sold crack, I carried guns, I transported drugs, I say all this at the age of 11, 12 years old. You know, and I was excited. I started getting money, being able to buy the Jordans and gold chains and everything. And, you know, I believed that was the way life was supposed to be for me at that time. And I'm not trying to blame society for my actions, but ultimately I committed a crime that caused me to serve 17 years of my life in prison at the age of 15. I worked for a program called the Youth Assistance Program for about 5 years. Well, we actually had an opportunity to talk to kids who came inside the prison system, and basically it wasn't a scared straight program. There was a difference between our program and the scared straight program, because we don't believe that like being forceful or trying to scare a child into corrective behavior is the way to go. Because, you know, they're going to sit down, they're going to listen to you for that time being, but, you know, they feel like they're being punished. So they're not taking anything. So we reversed it and decided that we're going to start educating the kids. Because that's why we have this gulf today between adults and children. There's no communication, nobody is educating the children anymore, and the children don't want to learn anything because they don't believe that we can identify with their problems. Like, I was scared to go to school. In 5th grade, I was playing hooky. I didn't have no clothes and stuff like that. My brother used to pee the bed, so, you know, my clothes were smelly, there was no washing machine. I didn't want to go to school. My mother didn't understand this. She couldn't understand it. I hid under the bed and stuff like that. When it was time to go to school, she didn't know I was around. I was hiding till 3 o'clock. I was actually watching TV under my bed, and it's not funny, but when the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up in 1985, I was watching the I Dream of Jeannie under my bed when it blew up. And I mean, I go back that far on playing hooky, but I was actually a bright child. I wound up through my time incarcerated and stuff like that, going to college and everything. I have a 3.92 grade point average.
Amen.
Come on now. I'm a paralegal. I'm not working as one right now. It's difficulty with my felony, but
Amen.
You know, I wound up educating myself and becoming a better person today.
Hallelujah. Praise him.
A couple of my friends here are going to speak about Ujama. I'm sorry. I know about Kwanzaa and all that. It's just been years since I celebrated it. And they're going to come and provide some guidance on that.
Harambe.
Thank you, Waki. What Waki was saying is basically somewhat like the story for us all. It falls on, you know, each. I don't even like to use the terminology story because anybody can make up a story. These are true life experiences. So Waki's experience is basically like the experience that we all had. Each situation falls on its own face, though. That's the only difference. Waki's was with his parents. Mine was actually influences from the street because I had no father in my home and I wanted to be a man. I wanted to be a father. So each situation falls on its own face. I wanted to also go back to what Waki said in retrospect for when he said that we all knew each other and we all grew up in the system together. That's definitely true.